This is John Kohler with OKRaw.com outside of church here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I'm gonna go to the wedding and a wedding reception. So in this episode, we're gonna show you guys how to be raw at a wedding reception when probably nothing else on the menu is raw. So let me go inside, enjoy the wedding. So the wedding was just grand. You saw a couple clips of the wedding and it was definitely a good wedding. And next what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the banquet hall. We're here at Lester's, 1500 Bluffton Road, and we're gonna see what they got to eat. Now, you know, I am putting this video up to let you guys know what you can eat at when you go to some place like this, or what the options are, because the most important thing to remember is that you guys have options. Eating food every meal of the day is always a decision. It's a decision you make. And your decision should be based on what is most important to you. So if it is important to you to fit in and not look different to like all the relatives and all the family and friends, then you might want to get, you know, the option that's inside, that's being served, whatever it is. Maybe a salad, maybe just drink water. You could fast. My dad fasted on water for 30 days, and you could fast on water one meal, but then you might look weird because you're not eating. So then you might want to get some steamed vegan foods. So at any meal, you get to choose what you want to eat or not. In any case, let's go ahead and go into the reception, see what there is to eat, and see what I'm going to eat today to hopefully inspire and let you know what you can do in situations like this or other social situations. Let's go into the banquet hall and see what there is. Here's the reception hall. So we're here at the buffet line, and let's see what they have today that somebody into raw foods could eat. So it looks like they have a nice salad here, has some croutons, lettuce, and tomatoes. So you could get that actually if you want to eat that. You pick up the croutons, and definitely you wouldn't get any salad dressings. Looks like they had a big fruit plate that's all devastated now, so you could eat the fruit plate. And actually, you know, don't forget about the garnish. You could eat the kale. That's the garnish. Most people wouldn't eat that, and it's probably not organic. And that's the other thing to remember. At a buffet thing like this, you know, it's usually not organic, so it's conventional produce. So if you want to eat conventional produce, that's up to you. I choose not to. This, I think, is some kind of Jello. Of course, they got the breads here, butter. They got looks like some canned or previously frozen, some carrots, some kind of potato something, some chicken, some pineapple and ham, and some roast beef. So those are the choices that are available for me today if I want to eat off the buffet line, and you'll have to make the decision if you want to eat maybe just vegan or not raw at an event such as this, but that's your decision. So for me today, I brought my own food that's organic, and I'm going to prepare it outside. So let's go outside and get the food I'm going to prepare today. So we're out of the car, and this is the backup plan. And it's always definitely good to have a backup plan, especially if you're on a special diet, such as a healthy raw food diet. We got my bag here, and I've actually brought my stuff to make a healthy meal that I can enjoy with everybody else. So got it here. Let's go back inside and prepare my meal. So here's the plate we're going to prepare the food on, and let me show you what I brought. So you got some sprouted buckwheat here. So that's been sprouted about 2 days. Definitely really good. Next, we have 2 avocados, whole head of parsley, and a couple cloves of garlic. So basically all we're gonna do is take out our buckwheat, put it on the table. We're gonna cut up some piece of avocado, mix it in with the buckwheat, and, you know, cut up the parsley, put it in there too, and, you know, mash up some of the garlic in there too. It's gonna make a nice little quick recipe. I do have another video showing this exact recipe. So as you can see, we're halfway done making the meal. We're taking the avocado basically 1/2 at a time. Here's the empty shell, and we're putting that on the plate with some pieces of parsley on the plate, and then followed by some of the buckwheat on the plate. And then I'd simply take the spoon, mash it up all together. Normally this recipe is best done in a bowl, but you could definitely do it with a spoon on a plate. Basically, you want to mash up the avocado so that it mashes all together and makes a nice texture. So in this recipe, you'll have your greens, your sprouts, which are fresh grown, and some avocado, which is some fat. And for the flavor, we're going to add a little bit of garlic at the end. So here is my meal. Once again, it's the mashed up avocados, parsley, sprouted buckwheat, and some garlic. It took me about 5 to 10 minutes to make, and once again, you don't have to make it on site. That's just how it played out for me today. You could bring it pre-prepared. So once again, I did this in an area that was inconspicuous and out of the way, as not to get attention, or make attention, draw attention to myself, because the focus of this event is about a marriage and about 2 people getting married, and not your diet, not your raw foods diet. So when I go back to the table, if anybody does ask, you could just say that I'm going to just say I'm on a special diet, and that my doctor says I need to eat a special diet, and I'll end it at that. You don't want to get into too long of stories telling everybody about raw foods or anything, because that's just going to isolate yourself from the event and from the people at your table. And I've learned that's not a good thing. So, just don't talk about it. Talk about other things. Hey, talk about the weather. So next, I'm going to head back to the table and eat my food. So now they're going to cut the cake. Let's go check it out. So here's the prepared cake, and of course, if you're raw, you're not going to eat the cake. But you know what? You have the choice at all times to choose whether you want to eat anything or not. So if anybody asks you, oh, can you eat this? You can eat this, but you choose not to eat it. That's very important to remember, that you always have a choice what you choose to put into your body. And when you do make that choice, you will feel the consequences afterwards, one way or another. If you eat good, then you're going to feel good. If you don't eat good, then you won't. Everybody's moving and grooving to the beat, enjoying themselves, and everybody's having a great time eating all their stuff. But you know what? You don't want to isolate yourself just because you eat a different diet. And let's head outside and give you a summary of some hints and tips so that you can successfully navigate a wedding or reception in the raw. So I'm taking a break from inside the reception to be out here with you guys to finish up this video really quick, because I got to get back inside and get my groove on. But in any case, I wanted to go over real quick with you some of the hints and tips I've learned over the 16 years that I've been eating and living in raw foods on how to survive a wedding. Now, this is not my first wedding, nor it will be my last wedding either. But I basically have all these hints and tips on how to navigate and be successful at attending a wedding when you are raw, or actually any other social event such as this one. So whether you're going to a wedding, business meeting with board members, or a community potluck party with people eating conventional food, you could use some of these similar tips that I've shared with you today. And let me go ahead and sum up some of the tips for you. So the first tip is, if they have a buffet style, reception, they're the easiest to navigate, because then you could choose what you want to eat, and hopefully they're going to have some fresh fruits and fresh vegetables or a salad to eat. They may also have some vegan cooked food options like they did here. Actually, they had a great menu that would basically cover most people, whether you're vegetarian, vegan, or even raw. For most people, I personally don't like to eat conventional food whenever possible. Now, if there's nothing else to eat, like I'm in another country and they don't have any organic food, then I'll eat conventional food, because it's better to eat something than to starve. But for me, in this situation, I decided to bring my own food and prepare it on site. Now, looking back at this, there's one thing I could have did better to improve this situation, or improve what I did at this event, is to pre-prepare what I made. So I took a plate that they have here at the buffet line, so it looked like I'm eating what everybody else is eating, but just a little bit different. And luckily, nobody really at my table, aside from my parents, asked me, what that is, which was a little bit odd, because they saw me purchase all the items that I used to make what I made. And plus, I don't like to draw attention to myself, in those situations. So, and I came back a little bit later, and everybody was almost finished done eating by the time I just got back and started eating. So it would have been much better to actually just grab a plate off the buffet line and just empty out of a plastic Ziploc bag or out of some Tupperware your food that you pre-made, put it on the plate, and then bring it back to the table and eat with everybody else. That's absolutely the best. But today, unfortunately, I didn't have the time to pre-prepare everything, so I just made it on site. So that's definitely one tip. The other tip is, if you are eating raw, you get to choose what you want to do and what you want to eat and put into your body. So don't let me or anybody else influence you on what you do. That being said, I take a high precedence on my health, and my health is my number one greatest wealth and my number one value in life. So above all else, I value my health. Some people out there may value companionship or friendship or what other people think about them more than their health, in which case you might want to eat some. First would be vegan raw foods, then next best would be maybe vegan cooked foods, on the buffet line. And that's completely up to you, and you get to choose what you want to eat. And if you don't normally eat 100% raw anyways, that's fine too. Or if you eat, high raw and a lot of raw, when you're on your own and at home, you eat all raw. But when you go out in social situations just to diffuse and, care for other people's feelings and not be isolated, then that's when you might want to eat, a big raw salad and some fresh fruits and vegetables like they had inside. And then maybe have a few of the cooked vegetables, like a small portion of cooked vegetables, but most of your plate raw stuff. I would think that's generally okay, and I don't necessarily say that everybody should be all raw, and it's definitely not for everybody. But if you eat a high raw, I'd say 80 to 90% raw, most of the time, and then a 10% cooked, and I don't mean McDonald's cooked, I mean 10% Whole Foods vegan cooked, and by cooked I generally mean steamed or boiled. Those are the best ways of cooking because the temperature doesn't get too hot. You're gonna be way better off than the next person. So this was a buffet style dinner, and that was really easy. Say you're going to a wedding or reception where they have, you basically got to choose, do you want the chicken or the steak? Don't even try to write in, because I've done this before and it doesn't work. I tried to write in raw vegan meal, sent my card back, and I didn't get that. So don't even try to do it, and don't even try to order something special. Just give me a salad, because when caterers and people hear salads, they'll probably think of salads. They'll put shredded cheese, they'll put croutons, maybe other things on there that you don't want, like pre-mix the salad dressing in your salad. So generally it's safe. If you do want to make a recommendation ahead of time, you might want to say fresh cut up vegetables or fresh cut up fruits, or actually both of those. That's probably the safest bet. But even better than that, I believe, just, prepare yourself, bring your own food. That's always the best way to do it. So the best thing to do is once you get to the event, then you're gonna ask actually the people, the caterers or the people in charge of the food, to basically cut you up some fresh fruits or fresh vegetables and put them on a plate for yourself. That's absolutely the easiest. And then you could bring a dressing. So one of the easiest dressings I like to make is just basically fresh orange juice with some tahini. Put that in a little jar, shake it up real good, and you're gonna have an orange tahini dressing. That's really simple, real easy. In most places you get some tahini and some fresh orange juice, or even just get the fresh orange juice and use some other kind of nut butter, raw nut butter. And that would be a very simple dressing. That way you only got to bring the dressing and have a salad and then pour your dressing over it. Or even better yet, what I did one time was just bring avocado. So I got their salad and just cut up avocado on top, and I was good to go. So I don't generally recommend an oil and vinegar dressing. I rarely eat vinegar, and oil is 100% fat. So if you want to pack on the pounds on a raw food diet, eat some oil, because you're going to see that right there. Definitely 100 calories per 1 tablespoon of oil. So I recommend whole food sources of fats, such as nuts and seeds. They're great, or even avocados or whole coconuts are much better. Another thing you can do, just like I did today, is bring your own prepared salad in some Tupperware in a Ziploc bag, and once again dump it on their plates, so it looks like you're included and you're not on eating out of your special dishes. Plus, if it's a nice fancy place, it's gonna look like the same stuff, and somebody's gonna think you ordered it out of the kitchen and got something special. And be prepared. Somebody's gonna ask you what you're eating, and you could just say, I'm on a special diet because my doctor said I have to be on a special diet for my health. And using those kind of terminologies, my doctor says, those 3 words, my doctor says, that opens up doors, because there's some people in our society that people respect and look up to. And you know what? One of those people is the doctor. So when the doctor says something, people just immediately oh, the doctor said, and then they move on to the next subject, because that's the final answer. If the doctor says you got to do it, well, hey, that's what you got to do. So the doctor says I got to eat this special meal because of my health, and it's probably true. You are eating it probably because of your health. And it's probably true that many doctors would say, maybe not your doctor, but other doctors maybe who already eat or into raw foods would definitely say that to you, so that is completely accurate. And once somebody will hear that, then basically, they may change the subject, or you could take the opportunity then to change the subject and move the subject away from the food to the weather or whatever subject else you want to talk about, or hey, how do you know the groom, how do you know the bride, or whatever other subject you want to talk about, because you don't want to focus on your food. So try to focus away from the food and talk about other things in life. Of course, another option you have is that you can always fast. So if there's no good food and you didn't bring any good food, just drink some water and let people know maybe you're not feeling well and you're just gonna drink some water. Don't get into some long story, oh, I'm fasting because all this food's toxic and it's no good and it's gonna prematurely age you and cause you to get cholesterol build up in your arteries. And I tried that once at a Thanksgiving meal at my cousin's house, and let me tell you, actually to this day I still think the relationship between that cousin and I not quite the same. So don't make the mistakes I did, and keep your diet a secret. That's huge. If you don't remember anything else from this whole video about bringing stuff or eating select things, remember, keep your diet a secret to everybody unless you 110% know they're going to support you in your diet. Because if they're not going to support you, it's going to raise red flags and it's going to raise questions. And because what you're doing, unfortunately, is different than all the other people or most other people in the world on Earth, then they're going to think you're weird. Although we really know that it's everybody else that's eating cooked foods, and every other animal, and before there is fire, there is raw, and every other animal eats raw food. So it's completely natural. But unfortunately, in this society, in this culture that we live in, well, eating a natural diet is completely whacked out. So keep your raw foods diet a secret, and don't tell anybody at any social event, meeting event, business event, or anything. Just keep it a secret, and you're gonna thank me for those words of wisdom, because let me tell you, that was the school of hard knocks how I learned that. Because people told me when I first got into raw foods, but I didn't listen because I was so excited and want to share this information with everybody and get everybody on a raw food diet because it's the best. But you know what? People aren't quite ready for the raw food message, and maybe one day they will, one day maybe they won't. And that's fine, because you have to realize that everybody is on their own path in life. And once again, today's episode shared with you my path and what I do. And just because I did this doesn't mean you have to do this, but I shared some of the different options you can do in situations like this. So I hope sharing with you this part of my life and how I navigate basically a raw foods diet and weave it in with a conventional wedding is of value to you. Once again, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time. And remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're the best things on earth.